Imagine stepping into a dark hallway carved deep into a mountain of ancient stone. The beam of light shakes across the walls, where faded drawings of kings and gods still whisper stories. You're not in a museum. You're in a real tomb. A place sealed long ago, hiding something so strange, so powerful, it could rewrite part of what we thought we knew about ancient history, and maybe even the Bible itself. A French archaeologist named Victor Loret discovered something incredible in the Valley of the Kings in Egypt. He was digging at the base of a cliff when he saw chisel marks in the rock, signs that someone long ago had tried to hide something. Not just hide it, bury it forever. As he cleared the entrance, he found a small funerary statue with a name on it, Amenhotep II. That wasn't just any name. That was the name of a pharaoh. He was a king of Egypt. Amenhotep II lived during a time that many believe could line up with the story of the Exodus in the Bible, the story where Moses led the Israelites out of Egypt. And what Loret found in that tomb has stunned people for over a century. Of all the tombs in the Valley of the Kings, this one should be one of the most famous. It has a pharaoh, a hidden prince, strange markings, mummies, and clues that seem to match the Bible word for word. Despite this, the tomb of Amenhotep II remained locked, off-limits, and barely mentioned in the mainstream for years. Why? That's what one man, a modern-day explorer, asked when he read Loret's original excavation report. The document had been buried in French archives. He had to get it translated just to understand it. So he grabbed his son, booked 2 plane tickets, and flew from Amman, Jordan, to Luxor, Egypt. Together, they crossed the Nile River and stood in the place where Loret had stood a century before. However, upon their arrival, they found the tomb locked. Where there's a lock, there's usually a key, and a deal to be made. So after talking to the right people and negotiating a fee, the doors were finally opened. But they only had 30 minutes inside. The hallway was long, narrow, and dark. In Loret's time, it was lit only by a single candle. As they moved deeper, they reached a deep shaft, a hole so wide and dark it seemed endless. They had to crawl down, cross the bottom, and climb up again on the other side, just to keep going. And all along the walls, more signs, symbols, names, echoes of royalty. In one of the rooms, they found the body of a boy. A mummy, lying in a boat, its face blackened, eyes frozen in time. But it wasn't just any boy. It was a prince, likely the firstborn son of Amenhotep II. How did they know? Because of one thing, the prince's lock. In ancient Egypt, royal children wore their hair in a special style, a shaved head, with one long lock hanging from the side. This symbol showed they were the children of the king. These discoveries reveal that there is much more to the biblical story than you ever imagined, truths that have been kept secret for centuries, waiting for the right moment to be discovered. And now, as old certainties are put to the test, finding clarity and understanding can completely redefine your faith journey. That's exactly what Forgotten Prophecies, the apocalyptic revelations that can change your future, offers. A path of guidance and wisdom through little explored biblical revelations, pointing to what really awaits us. This ebook delves deep into the prophecies and provides insights into tomorrow, and best of all, it's available for free. Click the link in the first comment and secure yours now before this opportunity is gone. The boy's body retained the same appearance. His name was Weben Senu. And this part is key. He died before his father, Amenhotep II, and was buried with him. In the story of the Exodus, one of the 10 plagues God sends to Egypt is the death of the firstborn. The Bible says that even Pharaoh's own son died. And here, in this tomb, we find the body of a young prince, clearly royal, clearly dead before the king. Coincidence? But the story doesn't end there. When Loret finally opened the royal sarcophagus, he found a mummy still wrapped in its shroud. And on that shroud? The name, Amenhotep II. Not only was the pharaoh buried in his tomb, a rare find in itself, but his body showed something no other mummy in the Valley of the Kings had. His skin was covered in strange sores. Boil-like bumps. Tubercles, they called them. And according to the Bible, one of the plagues Moses called down on Egypt caused boils to break out on people and animals. Could this mummy have been one of the few who lived through that plague? If the theory is right, then Amenhotep II didn't die in the Red Sea, as many assume. The Bible doesn't clearly say he did, it says his army drowned. Psalm 136 says Pharaoh was overthrown, not necessarily killed. And in Exodus 14 verse 30, it says the bodies of the Egyptians washed ashore. So even if Pharaoh had died, the Egyptians would have had every reason to retrieve and embalm his body. And that brings us back to KV 35. The object in question is a royal mummy. The prince has passed away. The king, covered in boils, was also present. This narrative aligns with the chronology outlined in a book that dates back 3,000 years. Remember, the ebook that reveals even more about these little-known prophecies is still available for download. But act quickly, only a few copies remain. Don't miss out on the chance to discover what could revolutionize your understanding of the future. Despite this, the tomb remained secure. The tomb was not preserved for tourists. It is not commemorated in museums. Locked away. It appears that the individual wished to avoid excessive inquiries from the public. The reign of Amenhotep II fits perfectly with the biblical date of the Exodus, 1446 BC, based on a fixed point in 1 Kings 6 verse 1. His father, Thutmose III, ruled for 54 years, more than enough to match the long time Moses was in exile before returning to Egypt. No other pharaohs in the 18th dynasty have reigns that line up so precisely. Amenhotep II, also known by the Greek version of his name, Amenophis II, was not just another king. He was part of a powerful family that ruled during one of Egypt's greatest times, the 18th dynasty, which many historians call Egypt's Golden Age. His reign took place from around 1427 to 1401 BC, though some experts say the exact dates might be off by a few years, depending on which calendar you follow. Still, this was long, long ago, so far back that pyramids were already old by then. His throne name, which is like a special royal nickname given when a pharaoh takes the crown, was Khepru. That name means something like, "Great is the manifestation of Re," referring to the sun god Ra, one of Egypt's most important gods. Pharaohs didn't just rule with laws, they ruled with symbols, and names like that were meant to show their divine power. But before he became pharaoh, Amenhotep II was a prince. And not just any prince, he was the son of Thutmose III, one of the most famous and successful warrior kings in all of Egypt's history. Thutmose III had expanded Egypt's empire like never before, winning battles all across the Middle East and bringing home treasure, land, and fame. Some people even call him the Napoleon of ancient Egypt, because he was such a smart military leader. Amenhotep's mother was Hatshepsut, a queen from a noble family. She bore the same name as the renowned female pharaoh Hatshepsut, suggesting a potential familial relationship. So Amenhotep wasn't just royalty. He was born from a long line of rulers and had greatness written all over him from birth. Don't forget that the gateway to these life-changing revelations is just a click away. Secure your copy of the ebook, Forgotten Prophecies, the apocalyptic revelations that can change your future. Now before it's too late, they are limited. When Amenhotep II became king, he had big shoes to fill. His father's reign had lasted more than 50 years, and Egypt was at the height of its power. People feared Egypt's armies. Its temples shone with gold. Its kings were legends. So, naturally, Amenhotep wanted to keep that going. And he didn't waste time trying to prove himself. According to ancient records, he was incredibly athletic and strong. Some stories say he could pull a bow so tightly that no other man could match him. Others say he rowed a boat faster than 200 men combined. He went on military campaigns, mostly in Syria and the regions around it, to crush rebellions and remind everyone that Egypt still ruled. One of his own writings brags about how he captured 7 enemy kings, brought them back to Egypt, and hung their bodies on the city walls as a warning to others. To us, that sounds cruel, but in ancient times, rulers believed power had to be shown, sometimes in very dramatic ways. But Amenhotep II wasn't only about war. He also worked on building projects and temples, leaving his mark in places like Karnak, one of Egypt's most important religious centers. There, His name and titles are carved into stone, reminding everyone who ruled during that time. He also supported the worship of Ammonius, a major Egyptian god, and made sure the priests stayed loyal to the royal family. When it came time to choose a successor, the crown went to his son, Thutmose IV. This part is where things get really interesting. Thutmose IV is best known for the Dream Stele, a large stone slab placed between the paws of the Great Sphinx. According to the story carved into it, he fell asleep near the Sphinx, and in a dream, the Sphinx told him that if he cleared away the sand and restored the monument, he would become king. He did, and he became pharaoh. According to the Bible, during the story of the Exodus, a pharaoh's firstborn son dies during one of the 10 plagues sent by God. Some people believe that Amenhotep II could have been that pharaoh and Webben Sena the son who died. In fact, the mummy of a young boy with royal features and the hairstyle of a prince was found in Amenhotep II's tomb. That's unusual. Usually, pharaohs were buried alone. Don't miss out on the opportunity to secure your free ebook, packed with never-before-seen revelations. Act now. There are only a few copies left to uncover the mysteries that await you. He wasn't just a pharaoh who wore golden crowns and sat on a throne. He was the kind who picked up a bow, got on his chariot, and led his army into battle. And he didn't just fight, he won, again and again. Let's go back in time, more than 3,400 years ago, to around 1427 BC, when Amenhotep II took the throne. He followed in the footsteps of his father, Thutmose III, who was one of the greatest military pharaohs Egypt had ever seen. Thutmose III had built an empire by marching Egypt's army into far-off lands and winning battle after battle. So when Amenhotep became king, he had a reputation to protect, and he took that challenge seriously. From the time he was a young man, Amenhotep II was known for being extremely athletic. Ancient writings say he was a champion archer. In fact, there's a famous story where he shot arrows through thick copper targets while driving a chariot at full speed. Imagine trying to hit a bullseye while riding a roller coaster, and still nailing it every time. That's the kind of strength and skill people believed he had. He also loved showing off his power. According to one tale, he rowed a boat faster than hundreds of sailors. And these stories weren't just for fun, they were meant to prove to everyone, in Egypt and beyond, that he was not just a ruler but a warrior. But Amenhotep II didn't stop with words or stunts. He went out and fought real battles. During his reign, he led several military campaigns, especially in areas we now know as Syria, Canaan, and parts of northern Iraq, where powerful cities and kingdoms stood in Egypt's way. Strong fighters filled these places, refusing to submit to any rule. But Amenhotep had a message for them: Egypt was still in charge. His army moved fast and hit hard. One of his most brutal campaigns was against the people of Mitanni, a large kingdom northeast of Egypt. The records say he crushed rebellions, defeated cities, and took many prisoners. He didn't just scare his enemies, he made sure they remembered. Remember to join our community by subscribing to this channel. He even had his victories carved into stone tablets, called stelae, which were set up in places like Karnak and Memphis, two of Egypt's most important cities. On these stones, he bragged about how many enemies he captured, how many rebels he executed, and how much land he brought under Egyptian control. One of the most shocking things he wrote was the number of prisoners he claimed to have taken: 89,600. That's right, nearly 90,000 people, according to his own records. That number is so big, it's hard to imagine. It would be like filling a giant stadium 2 or 3 times over. Some of those prisoners were made into slaves, brought back to Egypt to work on farms, temples, and construction projects. Others were used as soldiers or servants. However, Amenhotep's actions extended beyond simply seizing individuals. He wanted everyone to understand that he would crush rebellion. His writings tell us that he executed rebel leaders, sometimes hanging their bodies on the walls of cities to scare anyone who thought about fighting back. In that time, showing such harsh power was a way to keep peace through fear. To us today, this might sound cruel and terrifying, and it was. However, power meant more to ancient pharaohs than just earning respect. It was about inspiring fear. They believed if enemies saw the king as unstoppable, they wouldn't dare rise up. Amenhotep desired to leave a lasting legacy of unstoppable power. The truth is, many kings in ancient times did stretch the truth to look more powerful. But even if the numbers were a bit too big or the stories a bit too dramatic, there's no question, Amenhotep II was a real warrior who personally led armies and ruled during a time when Egypt was at the height of its power. He kept the empire strong after his father's great conquests, and made sure the world knew Egypt was still the ruler of the land. Even today, when archaeologists study his monuments and read his stele, they find a picture of a man who was proud of his strength, ruthless in war, and determined to hold on to everything his father had built. The tomb of Amenhotep II was hidden for more than 3,000 years. Only ancient thieves and, later, the careful steps of one man, Victor Loret, the archaeologist who found the doorway in 1898, made any noise. What he found inside wasn't just another royal burial. It was a puzzle box of history, filled with names, artifacts, and bodies that didn't just belong to Egypt's past. They whispered connections to something far greater. Are you enjoying the story? Support our channel by clicking the subscribe button. Inside, Loret found the wrapped remains of Amenhotep II himself, and not far from him, the body of a boy, young, fragile, marked by a single lock of hair that told everyone he was royal. Around them, shattered relics, scattered statues, and sacred jars inscribed with names no one expected to find. One could have dismissed it as a mere coincidence. But then came the markings, the strange sores on the pharaoh's preserved skin, the details that mirrored ancient texts, the timelines that started to align a little too well. And suddenly, what seemed like myth began to feel like memory. For thousands of years, billions have read, heard, or believed in the tales of Moses, the plagues, the death of the firstborn, and the dramatic escape of the Israelites from Egypt. To many, it was faith. For others, it was referred to as folklore. Archaeologists continue to explore, dig, and analyze. Some dismiss the connections. Others lean in closer. But no one denies that what was found in KV-35, the tomb officially labeled as Amenhotep II's, raises questions too big to ignore. If you're enjoying this story, consider clicking super thanks. Your support helps us bring more hidden histories and powerful discoveries to light. The deeper you go into this story, the harder it becomes to call it a coincidence. Maybe it's not about proving every word. Maybe it's about seeing that sometimes, the past is more honest than we expect. Sometimes it doesn't just echo history, it confronts it. And when it does, it asks us what we're going to do with what we've found. A mirror held up to our modern world, showing that even thousands of years ago, kings rose and fell. Empires believed they were invincible. And yet, their greatest fears came not from armies, but from the unseen. From plagues. From prophecy. They were influenced by events beyond their ability to predict or control. Whether you believe the Exodus is history, religion, or something in between, the evidence found in that quiet tomb buried in Egypt's cliffs demands attention. It speaks to the power of memory, the persistence of questions, and the idea that real stories, no matter how long they've been buried, don't stay hidden forever. So the next time someone tells you that the past is dead and buried, remember this tomb. Remember the name Amenhotep II. Remember the boy with a lock of hair. And remember that the ground beneath our feet might know more than we do. Thanks for watching. Join our community by subscribing to this channel. Until the next video.